Now the other side of it is, just because you're willing to do something doesn't mean you should. So let's say you just got your first job and you got your first paycheck, and yeah, you paid your rent and all this, so you're like, you know what, I'm gonna take all of this, and NVIDIA's been going like crazy, so I'm gonna take my whole paycheck and buy NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA's a solid company, I think they have good growth potential or whatever, but let's say a month later, you know, your car won't start, right? And it turns out that it's not the gas, it's that it needs an engine rebuild, and you need to come up with $3,000. And to get your first job in your first apartment, you have no insurance, no emergency fund, and no credit. But you have the money that you put in your paycheck in the NVIDIA stock. And NVIDIA just got some bad news about whatever. And every once in a while they get bad news, people overreact. You have no money. Your card is dead, and you need to get to work. So what are you gonna do? Where are you getting the money? Meanwhile, NVIDIA, even though it might be a great long-term hold, just dropped 20%, because you've seen that happen, right? But you need the money today, because if you don't, you're unemployed. You're taking the loss, right? So it has to be, so even though you might be willing to do that, you should, because of your circumstances. So the idea is trying to educate people to do that, make sure they have the foundation, make sure that when they're focusing on their goals, that what they're investing in, what they're saving in, what they're planning for is consistent with that. And that's kind of the process in a 10-minute nutshell. So quick questions, I know we've got to go around the room. Yes, sir.
What's your preferred age to work with somebody? I know you can work with anybody, but do you find young people more rewarding?
No. I think because they tend to, they want, I'll rephrase it. Some young people, if they are receptive to advice and they are willing to be coachable, and they want to grow with somebody. But I find a lot of younger people, you know, they may be do-it-yourselfers, or they're thinking they can do everything online, they don't need a person or whatever, and that's fine, okay? That's their preference. So I would say probably my preferred would probably be 40 to 70. People who are kind of mid-career to pre-retirement, I would say is probably the dual income professionals. I work with some business owners, but I find in some business owners that they get so bogged down in their business that sometimes they will blow you off, because it's like, oh yeah, I know we had a meeting, but you know what, there was an emergency and I had to take care of this or whatever. I get it, okay? So I would say my sweet spot is probably the dual income professionals that are not there. One of the things that I'll say, and I'll close with this, part of my elevator speech is, you know, a good referral for me is someone who has the means, the method, and the desire to achieve their goal, right? And I'll give up my 30 seconds. So
you can take all the time you want.
And the means is you're there, you have the wealth, right? The method, and I just made this up when as an aside, the method is you don't necessarily have the wealth, but you have the income, meaning you have the ability to build wealth. And the desire, maybe you don't have either of those things, but you have an intangible. Maybe you just start a business, or you just graduate from school, or you finished an internship or residency. Or maybe you know a lot of people that can be a good referral source. Or maybe you are super committed and super disciplined to where even though you don't have a lot of resources, you have the ability and desire to save and are good to work with. Any of those people I'll work with, yes.
How often do you change investments for your clients?
Every day, we day trade. No, we don't do that at all, actually. But what we do is actually we have, for example, in our firm,